Alrighty guys, welcome back. It's Joey again, Vegas D-Tech, and this is going to be Tech Talk number 24. You're back in the lounge and we're about to get into it. Today's topic is the most expensive metal detector that you own the best? Alright guys, and we're back. So the question that I have here, man, and I have this is quite a winded one, and I have all of these topics we need to cover. Look at that. That's research, man. That's research. Alright, so we're gonna go across this. The question is the most expensive metal detector that you own the best? You know, if that analogy held any type of weight, then I wouldn't need all these other detectors that I have sitting here next to me, right? So if that was the case, if the most expensive feature-rich detector that I have was the best, then I would have absolutely no need for this machine right here. Right? There would be no need for this machine. Yeah, there would be no need for this machine right here, because why? Well, it's too cheap. It's too cheap, man. This thing is $249, dude. That's way too cheap, bro. It can't compete with my expensive detector.
You don't have much of a chance if you haven't got one of these.
If that was the case, then I would never have a need to use this detector either, right? Why? Bro, it's 11 years old, dude. This thing it can't compete.
You don't have much of a chance if you haven't got one of these.
My newest detector is worth all this money and it's all these features. This is 11 years old. There'd be no need for me to even have this detector anymore, right? Okay. Well, then that would mean that the only detector that you would really need is this guy right here, right? Because why? Because this guy does it all, right? It's supposed to, because on paper it's feature rich, it's completely loaded, and you're paying between what? Between $700 to $1,000 for it? So if that's the case, if this detector is way ahead of all the other, and this detector has outclassed all of my other detectors, then I should be grabbing this detector each and every day, because it finds me hordes and hordes of things that the other ones don't, if that was true. But the reality is, it is not. Okay? Now, guys, let me get back to this. Look, I'm going to make a little disclaimer, okay? This is just my opinion. Everybody here is entitled to their own opinion, all right? And, you know, it's hard, you know, it's hard to make a channel and have a platform to talk without like, you know, offending some people. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to rub somebody the wrong way. So I try to tune my opinion down, even though the information that I have to give you, it's the truth. It's the truth as far as I'm concerned in how I detect. And all I'm trying to do is help the community, okay? Many people get mad because if you say something, they feel that you're trying to sway the opinions of new people or whatever by your gossip or your verbiage. And I'm not trying to sway nobody. You know, we're all adults here, okay? I like this hobby because for the most part it's an adult hobby. When you take a look at my take a look at your analytics, I see the age range of people that are here. Barely does it ever touch anybody that's below the age of 25, okay? And they're the ones that get pretty cocky and like to fire off and say all these things. But on the other hand, you get individuals that have been doing this for a long time, and they're set in their ways, and anything new that you say automatically offends them as well, and then they want to chime in and say a bunch of negative things, and it's just unnecessary. We don't need to cause a war here. It's just a hobby, you know. If you want to come on to the, you know, the comments and leave a comment saying, "Oh man, you suck," okay, that's an opinion, but it's like it's a non-helpful opinion. You know what I mean? You suck is just the way you feel. But why? What about the information that you got says that you suck? And can you give something back that is useful and credible that we can use here in the hobby and in the community to better one another? Don't just say you suck. I mean, that doesn't help anybody with anything. So I was just talking to this gentleman here named Jerry. He sent me a message, and you know what? I was humbled by his message, man, because most guys just leave a little message, thanks, that was cool, blah blah, and that's all right. But man, he left me a nice dissertation. And Jerry says that he's been detecting since like 1973. Jesus, he's been detecting like the entire time that I've been alive, even longer. Okay, and he says that he's owned over 200 metal detectors. Dude, I'm humbled. It's like, how do I even have this guy's attention on my channel when he has that kind of advice and experience and wisdom? And like I said, I'm humbled to even have this person interacting with me, and he's so kind and he's so polite and a professional. And that's what I hope to achieve with everybody here, is that we all have something beneficial to help one another. Okay, so mostly when I give my advice, I'm trying to help out the new guy that's trying to get on, that wants to buy new gear, and they are falling for this thing that if you don't have all this new high-tech expensive gear, that you're going to find less stuff, and it's just not true. Okay, and here's what I find. I find that the longer time that you have swinging a coil, or the longer amount of time you have behind a coil, you start to develop a certain style, a certain comfort behind a stick. Okay, you start to become friends with that stick. Your detector creates a personality, and you've spent so much personal time with that detector that you've grown to like that personality. Okay, and then when you grab another detector and you start using it, immediately that comfort zone is gone, and then you start to immediately feel like there's something that's off, or there's something that's lacking in this new detector, even though it's feature rich, even though it's top of the line, right, and expensive. You use it and there's just something off about it. Now guys, only you know what it is. The thing that's off for me, that's my it. And then there's the things that you find when you're waving, you're just like, this is the it that's off for me, right? Most of the time, the it for me is like when I turn the machine on. When I turn the machine on and I start hearing the tones that it makes, I'll be honest with you, if a machine is annoying with the tones, that's a big put off for me, because I don't want to hear that all day. And even though I'm looking at that machine sitting on the wall and it's like clean and bright and it's hardly got any use to it, I want to reach for it because I haven't used it very much, but I just know what I'm going to expect when I turn it on and I'm waving it, and I have to hear these the tones, man, and it's just crispy or ducky or just sharp, and I just don't want to hear that all day. I tend to gravitate towards one of my other machines that has a more melodic tone that's not so abrasive. I tend to go for that. Or menus. If I get a machine that has too much of a complicated menu where you're constantly scrolling and having to go over there, and then it times out and you have to go back to this one and scroll back over to it again, and then you're not sure, and then you waste too much time, and then it pops back and you got to re-scroll. Sometimes menus can get to be too annoying, or there's too many features in the menu, too much going on. Okay, that could be something that puts you off. Or sometimes the way that a detector hits a target, when it hits a target, you get that convincing sound, like it's bright, bang. It makes a solid hit, bang, and it's like it's registering there. Sounds good, man. And it's just it's cooperating and it's communicating to you crystal clear, right? And some detectors, you use it, and no matter how beautiful it is, it's not hitting those targets convincingly enough for you to believe it. It's believability, I just don't have the believability that it's hitting the target right, and I start to lose confidence in it. Another one too, I'm not a fan of noisy detectors. I wanted so much to buy certain detectors out there, but when I hear just how it's just unstable, it just feels like just sitting there in an unused state. Even if you turn down the sensitivity, it's wanting to crackle and spark and crackle and just make a bunch of chattery, jittery noises. I can't listen to that for hour after hour. You know what I mean? So if it's a very unstable, noisy detector by nature, and I understand that EMI is going to affect every detector differently, but some of these detectors, man, you just go to the park and you turn it on, and by its nature, it just wants to be noisy. And that's like a put off to me. And the other thing too is the overall balance and weight of a machine. You know, when you hold a machine in your hand, I'm not really a fan of anything over 3 pounds. Anything going above 3 pounds, it starts to feel lunky and bulky and tiresome. And you'll know. You'll know after waving this thing around on your arm, you know, for a couple of hours here, man, that you're going to feel it up in here and you're going to feel it all in your forearm and you're going to feel tired, man, and fatigued. Now, you know, I modified a thing that goes over my shoulder. It's called a swingy thing. That it's got a strap on here, like a bungee cord. It goes under your arm and goes around your neck. And then I normally attach that, you know, and I go around, and it's cool. It'll keep the weight up and off of me, and you can get away with that for a while. But the amount of times that I could get up, get down, get up, get down, get up, get down, by doing this over and over again, having to clip and unclip and get out of your harness. For me, these are like the annoyance factors of a machine. And if they don't, if I can't work around those things, they become tedious, and then I end up not hardly using that anymore. And like I said, those are the its for me, and each and every one of you are going to have an it for machines that either put it off, even though they're a great machine, you're just like, it wasn't for me, man. These are the reasons why. And you are entitled to that, man. It doesn't mean that you are trying to sway somebody else's opinion. It doesn't mean that you're trying to crap on a brand or a model. It just means that for you, this detector just did not fit the comfort and the way that you detect your style. And it's okay. It's okay to do that, okay? Now, some detectors that are expensive, they're feature rich on paper. Feature rich, man. They've got all kinds of features on there that should just completely blow out, you know, all the other detectors that you've owned, because it's so new. It's got all these things. Many people that I know, they never even get past the basic programs. You know what I mean? They're just like, they just get lost in the settings, and they're just sitting there just going through and just messing with the settings on their box all day. And they don't put enough time down on the ground, and they're not finding things. And they're going home, and they're like, they didn't find hardly anything today. Well, yeah, because I watched you, man. You spent so much of your time standing there under the tree just pushing buttons, looking for settings. Another thing that I try to tell people is that, you know what, if your budget allows you to go and buy a lot of detectors, and that's your thing, you like to collect things, and for you like to collect detectors, that's great. But new guys, intermediate guys, don't be put off by these channels that, you know, make you feel like you got to have the most expensive stuff, and they got 10 or 15 different detectors. You know, growing up, when I used to watch detector shows or just any type of a channel, when I would follow him, I really developed a closeness to the individual's channel in his early years, because he only had one of something. You know what I mean? And he would show me how to be efficient at that one thing that he has. You know, and growing with him, you know, he acquires things at a level that I can keep pace with him. Hey man, this guy, he just bumped up into a detector. I think with some hard work and savings, I can keep up with him. But then some channels really take off, and they start getting all kinds of endorsements that they're just getting wild amounts of equipment that you can never keep up with them. And then you start to feel like you're losing touch with this person, because in their early years, they had credibility and you could follow them because they didn't blow up and become all about machines, machines, machines. And now you can't follow him because you're like, I can't even, his machines are so expensive, I can't even follow him anymore. In a nutshell, all these detectors are designed to do the same thing. Just like your car. Your car is designed, you put gas in it, you start it, it takes you to work, it takes you on errands, and then it brings you home. These detectors are all designed to do the exact same thing. No matter what the brand, how expensive it is, they're designed to beep on metal. Alright? That's it. You could sit there and debate and talk about, you know, all these features and split hairs about what's better than this and that and the other. You know, oh man, it's recovery speed. Oh, it's a discrimination spectrum is better, this and that. The multi-frequency versus your regular frequency. Oh, you don't have enough coil options, blah, blah, blah. You know, and it just goes on and on and on, and you get lost again in tech, and you're not doing enough detecting. You know, I have a friend down in South Africa that I met through this channel right here, and he has access to no tech. Everything, he has no hobby stores. He has no place where he can buy a detector. I mean, and he is completely limited to a no-name, kind of like the basic bounty hunter with the needle on it. That old needle, and it has two knobs, sensitivity and volume, and just that little needle. And he is out there every single day pounding the hell out of South Africa, pounding the desert, pounding the beaches, pounding the plains. You just, whatever. Tigers and lions all over the place, man. He's just pounding everything he can with that basic detector, and the stuff that he finds is unbelievable. And like I said, many of the guys that have detectors, they don't even utilize many of the parameters. Like a lot of times when I get out there, I want to cut the machine on. I go to Park 2. Why? I just feel for whatever reason it behaves better in Park 2. The tones are set right. The tone breaks are good. I haven't done anything. I just scrolled over to Park 2. Then I just hit the ground balance. In my case, I'm concerned that the mineralization changes from park to park. I'm ground balancing the machine. Once it clicks that it's ground balanced, I set my sensitivity to where it's not going to crackle or start to act erratic. And I'm always in, 3 to 5 tone. And I go. That's it. Park 2. Ground balance. Sensitivity. Tone. Let's go. You know what I mean? I don't get all involved with all these other things, man, because I just don't need it the way I detect. You may be the more advanced person that you want to fine tune every little thing that you do, and that's great. That's the way you detect. But for the majority of the guys that I know that want to get started in this hobby, you're not going to be in those areas doing all this prospecting. You don't need to buy a detector that's going to be geared with those features if you're really never going to use that. I mean, why buy a detector that is strong on the beach when you go to the beach twice a year? Why buy a detector that's waterproof and scuba dive, ready, if you never do that? Your dream is to do that, but you never do. So on a daily basis, when you get off of work or on the weekends, what's the closest thing to you? What's the closest place that you're going to detect? Probably a park within 3 to 5 miles of your house. And if that's the case, you just need to get a detector that is going to be utilized for all of its rich features in this setting that's close by, because this is where you're going to be going all the time. So find yourself a detector that is going to have all the features that you need for where you're going in the environment that you're going to be digging in. Don't worry about having the best for this situation or for that environment that you never utilize. You can get to that at some other point. Okay? So, so many times I believe that we get spoiled with these detectors, and that we rely on all the features on there because we believe in our mind that all these features are going to find us more things. Could they? Maybe. I'm still on the fence with so much of the stuff that's out there. Okay, in the beginning I used a $99 Compadre, and then I jumped up to like a $149, Technetics Delta 4000, and I spent a good core of my early years with just those two machines. And I found an abundance of things, but that's because I dug it all, pretty much. I dug all good signals. If the signal came in strong and I hit hard on it, I dug it up. Was it going to be penny? Was it going to be, rubbish? Just a bunch of toss-away stuff? Yeah. But because I was digging so much, I improved the likelihood that I'll find something useful, and I did find lots of rings. I always ask myself when I see these guys buy really, really expensive detectors, and I'm like, is it really that good, man? Is it an absolute night and day difference from what you've been using to that new expensive detector? When you cut it on and go to the park, are you bringing home that much more good stuff, good finds, jewelry? Okay, if you're going to put it off like, oh, I have a musket, and now I just bought me the latest in high-tech weaponry. I got an AR-15 from a musket. Is it that night and day difference? This expensive detector that you just purchased, that you're going to be paying on for a while, are you bringing home hordes of the good stuff in relation to what you were bringing in with your previous detector that you spent all those times with? In the end, guys, I'm just going to leave you with this. There ain't much that there ain't much that something like this simplex is gonna miss that an expensive detector like an Equinox is gonna find. That's just no BS assessment there, man. I've seen many channels where the guys have access to many expensive detectors, and they use them, they like them, but even though in their mind there's something that they like about a lesser detector, a more of an antique detector, a more of a cheaper detector. There's something about those cheaper ones or less feature-rich detectors they keep coming back to. And there's something beautiful and simple and soulful about those detectors. They keep coming back to it. It ain't always that the most expensive detector that you buy has everything that you're going to need and it's the end-all be-all. So with that, guys, I'm going to leave you with it. I hope some of this information was helpful to you. Please share your thoughts. Tell me what it is that you're using right now. And do you believe that the most expensive detector that you own, is it finding you that much more stuff at the park? Do you reach for it more than anything else? With that, guys, thank you again. Vegas Detect, Tech Talk number 24. I'm going to close this out. You guys have a wonderful night. Subscribe if you haven't. Like, comment, and I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.